It couldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. But for the sake of illustrating some constructive and destructive ways of handling marital conflicts, let's suppose that there's an argument going on at the Adams house and that there's an identical argument going on at the same time over at the Canes. Let's listen in on both couples for a moment. First, the Canes.
It's only money. Let's just throw it all away.
It's only a budget. It's not sacred.
Not with you around.
Me? Who does all the scraping and scrounging to keep us on that precious budget? I suppose it was you who shopped in 4 different grocery stores to save.
And over at the Adams house.
You don't realize of it, but I shopped in 4 different grocery stores today just to save a penny here, a penny there, and a dime somewhere else.
You figure I don't know why you spend so much time on the food part of it? I mean, you figure whatever you save there is yours.
Oh, yes! I am very underhanded. Sure, I scrimp on the groceries just so I can have some money of my own. $2 or $3 whole dollars a month. But you have a big fat allowance built right in the budget.
Oh, boy, let's...
The Adamses and the Canes are at it again. The gist of their argument so similar that in switching from one house to the other, not a thread is lost. Now, the best way to handle a disagreement is through calm discussion. But as you can see, neither the Adamses nor the Canes are using the best way right now. But in a moment, one of these pairs will begin to handle their conflict constructively, working toward a solution for their differences. The other couple will let the conflict handle them so that hostility mounts and a solution is farther away than ever. See if you can tell which one of these couples is arguing constructively, which pair is arguing destructively.
My big fat allowance, as you call it, all goes for car fare to get me to work.
All right. That is what burns me up. I mean, there is no place for any leeway. We have ourselves strapped in a straitjacket.
Going overboard for a vacation won't help that.
I don't call it going overboard. Not now, under the circumstances. But just once I want to have the best. You have the best when you buy a new suit.
Oh, boy, back to that. I bought one good suit in my life, and I've worn it for 3 years. That's extravagance. What, a trip to Acapulco? Oh, now that makes sense. Now, look, you know my suit has nothing to do with this, so let's just forget it.
Okay. But you can't say that a real vacation doesn't make sense. Not when we have the money, and not when it's the only chance we're going to have for years.
Is that what's bothering you, the fact that we're going to be tied down? Look, if that's what's eating you, let's talk about that, not about spending every cent in the savings account.
It's not eating me! I'm tickled to death about the baby. But you can't deny that a baby's going to keep you at home. The responsibilities are going to pile up.
Exactly. Think of the hospital bills and furniture and stuff for the baby.
Is that what's bothering you? How much it's going to cost? I can see us now haggling with doctors to find out who's going to deliver the baby for $2.98 less than somebody else.
You are acting like a ninny. You've already lined up the best obstetrician in town. And speaking of him, what does he think of this idea of yours of going on a vacation? Does he think it's all right?
I don't know. I didn't ask. But I'm just a ninny.
I'm sorry, you're not the ninny. I'm the ninny for letting you get me so worked up. Look, I understand how you feel. I'd like to break loose from the grind while we still can. But we're going to need every penny, and we're going to have less because you won't be working anymore.
Aha! You admit it. You said you'd like to break loose. You want to get away just as much as I do.
I never said I didn't. I said, do we have to go whole hog? And you jumped up on your high horse.
I beg your pardon. You said a budget is a budget, and I thought that meant the trip was just off.
Well, it's not. Not unless you insist on going to the ends of the earth.
Well, I don't insist on anything. I mean, I am willing to go anywhere I decide.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we decide.
Oh, you gave yourself away.
I did not. Did I? I said we. I did. Well, you know what I mean. Okay. You win. But I know we've got to be reasonable about it.
Well, for Pete's sakes, let's argue about what we can do, huh?
Meanwhile, over at the Canes.
I tell you what you can do.
You always do.
You can stop acting like a martyr every time I inject a little common sense into the discussion.
Common sense? You say no without even listening to what I have to say, and you call that common sense.
Well, what is there to listen to? You walk into the room and announce, we're going to Mexico. You expect me to just say, yes, darling?
Well, that wouldn't hurt for once. Do you have to make all of the decisions?
Oh, come on, don't be so silly. Talk facts, will you?
You want facts. What about the car? You bought what you wanted, didn't you? Oh, it's all right for me to work for cars and vacations. But I don't have any say.
Not when what you have to say is just plain stupid. Picking out a car because it's blue.
Stupid! So stupid, I'm in charge of my own department.
I thought that had come out. Your fine job. Well, let me tell you, I'm fed up with hearing about your fine job. You knew when you married me that it would take time for me to work up in the company. So that was all right when you were trying to hook me. Now it's new carpets, new cars, big trips, any excuse for you to keep on working. Because that's what you really want.
How would you know what I really want? At least what I earn gives us some of the nicer things in life.
The nicer things? Well, what are they? More furniture? A new carpet? Have you ever heard of a family? Of children? Or aren't they nice enough?
Well, that's a new one. Especially since it was your idea to wait until you got established until we had a family.
My idea? That's a laugh. My idea was to wait until you grew up a little. A fine mother you'd make. Even your own mother admits you're spoiled.
Leave her out of this.
Why should I? I pay for her rent and her groceries, don't I? Oh, maybe I shouldn't mention that. Maybe that's one of the nicer things in life that I haven't got sense enough to appreciate. Oh, brother, tears. That just solves everything.
With both the Canes and the Adamses, it's clear that there is much more involved here than the disagreement over money with which the quarrels began. This is usually true of most marital conflicts. It's also apparent that the heat of a quarrel has nothing to do with whether it solves anything. The hot-headed Adamses bear this out.
Oh, no. Can't do it. Might be bad for you and the baby. How about here?
Oh, no. That's too close to Aunt Helen. You know, if she ever heard we went through and didn't stop. Besides, getting trapped at a relative's is the last thing. Oh, see, there's the lake the Smiths raved about. What do you think about that?
Say, now,
If you
that's a-
decided that the Adams conflict, for all its heat, was the one which moved through constructive channels, you were right. Their clash cleared the air for a reasonable discussion. But the discord between the Canes, although not so loud, didn't get anywhere, and left both of them feeling worse than ever. What makes a quarrel destructive? Let's back up and note some of the damaging elements of the Canes' quarrel. The most damaging element in any conflict is not knowing the real issue. Are the Canes quarreling about money? Or a vacation? Or the car they bought last summer? Or the family they don't have? Nobody knows, least of all the Canes. Whatever the real issue is, it is repeatedly sidetracked.
Well, that wouldn't hurt for once. Do you have to make all of the decisions?
The Canes not only allow themselves to get sidetracked into dead issues, they also get sidetracked into personalities.
Well, not when what you have to say is just plain stupid. Picking out a car because it's blue.
From attacking personalities, it's only a short step to hitting below the belt.
Stupid! So stupid, I'm in charge of my own department.
And once the hitting gets below the belt, outright hostility, the urge to hurt the other person as badly as you've been hurt, comes to the fore.
My idea was to wait until you grew up a little. A fine mother you'd make. Even your own mother admits you're spoiled.
Leave her out of this.
Why should I? I pay for her rent and her groceries, don't I?
Nowhere in the Canes' argument was there any attempt to understand the other person's viewpoint or to find the real issue. The tension exploded the only way it could for the Canes, in tears and resentment. Over at the Adamses, tension worked itself out to the point where they could laugh at themselves. Why? What did they do to handle the conflict? Let's go back and note the things which helped. First of all, After some preliminary sparring, the Adamses zeroed in on the issue. Should we or should we not take a vacation? It took some effort, but they stuck to the issue as closely as they could while under emotional stress.
Now that makes sense. Now look, you know my suit has nothing to do with this, so let's just forget.
Okay. But you can't say a real vacation doesn't make sense. Not when
A dead issue, which could have sidetracked them, was disposed of by mutual consent, and an effort was made on both sides to try to understand the other person's viewpoint.
Is that what's bothering you, the fact that we're going to be tied down?
To make sure that what the other was saying was understood.
Is what's bothering you? How much it's going to cost? I can see us now haggling with doctors.
Sometimes the Adamses lapsed off into personalities, even name-calling, but they never resorted to red flag words such as stupid and spoiled, the way the Canes did.
You are acting like a ninny.
And when Adams realized he had fallen into the common practice of name-calling,
I don't know, I didn't ask, but I'm just a ninny.
You're not the ninny. I'm the ninny for letting you get me so worked up.
without a break in the argument, the statement was retracted. An apology was offered. There was no necessity then for retaliation, for hitting below the belt, for hurting someone because you've been hurt yourself. Hostility was kept in check, so that when the tension exploded, it could explode harmlessly with both of them laughing at themselves.
And I thought that meant the trip was off.
Well, it's not. Not unless you insist on going to the ends of the earth.
I don't insist on going anywhere. I mean, I'll go anywhere that I decide.
Ha-ha!
I mean, we decide to go.
Oh, you gave yourself
But
away.
it's not.
Even though the Adamses may be childish enough to slam things and yell, they still show a mature willingness to compromise. Mrs. Adams, who started out wanting a trip to Acapulco, was willing to settle for less. And Mr. Adams, who apparently wanted to take no trip at all in the beginning, was willing to consider some kind of vacation after all. The Adamses established a basis for discussion, which is the ideal way of handling conflicts. Neither individual won, just as neither lost the argument. Still, the couple won through compromise. But over at the Canes, a great deal seems to be lost. Energy, time, self-respect, understanding. If you are to avoid such unhappiness in your life, it's important to understand why the Canes quarrel was so damaging. Quarrels of the Cane type damage a relationship because the real issue is never established. They do not stick to the point. They do not understand each other. They hurt each other. They will not compromise. The Adamses have reached a point where they can kiss and make up with no great harm done because the real issue was established. They stuck to the point. They understood each other. They did not hurt each other. They were willing to compromise. When you marry, you will have conflicts with your marriage partner. With two individuals, 2 points of view, it would be impossible not to disagree sometimes, and unrealistic not to learn how to handle marital conflicts. Learning the techniques now is better than learning them later, the hard way. How many of the suggestions for minimizing the damages of family quarrels can you remember? Are there any other suggestions you can add for handling marital conflicts constructively?